want to cast here instead of some big swooping cast. Whatever you can do to get it out there is fine. So the bounce, you need a little bit of resistance. Does somebody want to hold this? Yeah, you just kind of give me a little bit of resistance. And the reason why I need resistance is because the shooting head is going to be on the ground, on the bottom. So if, say, the water's at its kneecap there, I'm going to have the rod up about this high and flat, okay? And as I retrieve this, when I pull down, I want the rod to do this. Okay, I'm going to strip and it's going to go like this when you strip it, right? So you want the rod to go boom, 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 okay? That's the bounce. And one of my favorites is the bump. So the bump is just short, little, like this. I don't know if you guys can even see it. They can't even see it. I don't need any more mouse. Okay. Let me go this way. Okay, the bump is going to be like this. Boom, boom, just like this. Just like that far. Okay, the bounce is going to be more like this. This is going to be just like this. Now, in all of these, you can go different speeds. You can bounce it fast and hard, or you can bounce it slow. Okay, the bump's the same way. The slow bump works better than a fast bump. And you want to get a cadence. So you can go fast, slow, medium. If you have a favorite song that you like, just think about your song. Go through your song and do it. Okay, if it's Stairway to Heaven, fine. If it's Moon River, do it. Okay, whatever your song is, then just start doing it, and you'll be amazed. But you want to usually stop and go. The pyramid lift, very important. As your fly starts coming up to you, and you can see it out there, and you'll see the beetle coming in, and the woolly buggers behind it. When you see that coming in, you get to the end for your next cast. Before you lift your rod up to cast, be ready. Okay? So once you get your rod tips at this angle right here, lift it up. Okay, so you're here, and just swing it up before you cast, because they'll come up and grab it sometimes, right in front of you. Okay? So be careful on that. That's the lift. So every time you lift your rod before another cast, be ready for a grab. The rip, that's a very old retrieve, and it's done with one fly, not two. If you do it with the beetle, it's going to spin and it's going to mess up your whole leader. But the pyramid rip, let me get some more line out. It's going to be this fast, like this. You'll see guys do that. Cast out, sinks down, and they're going to go boom, 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 like all day long. Fast, fast, fast. One fly.
Buggers primarily.
Yeah, straight black. A little chubby black one is good with like 3 hackles on it. Real bushy. And then, but fast, rip, 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 rip. That's the pyramid rip. The grind is a good one. That's kind of like a bump, but that's just a slow grind. You can go at any speed. You can go slow, or you can, grind it here, slow it down. Okay, all different speeds on these retrieves. So the grind is you're just grinding, and a slow grind is usually the best with the beetle. Now the German girl has a story behind it. I used to call it the pull pop. So when I was teaching this, I would teach the pull pop. So it would be a long pull, and at the end pop it. Long pull, pop it. So it'd be boom, boom. And it got its name from a woman named Jenny from Germany. And she was a world champion caster. She came out to Pyramid to fish with me. And she was about 6 foot tall. And like I said earlier, I'm 4'3". So she had this long, it was great. So I go, okay, Jenny, let's do the pull pop. So there's about a dozen people on the beach, and she's the only one that caught fish, and she caught a bunch of them. So it was so good, I said, hey, I'll name it after you. So she goes, oh, you're going to call it Jenny? I go, no, I'm going to call it the German girl. So she goes, oh, and I got a big hug. Yeah, my friends are all jealous. So that's the German girl, pull pop. Now the roly-poly, maybe I should have you hold this now. I'll turn around too.
Yeah,
so
I think it's that way.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and pull a bunch of line out there, and Now the roly-poly is good for salt water. There's a couple ways to do it. In the boat, you can put it between your legs and do it. But when you're wading out there, you can't, so you got to put it under an arm usually. So I usually tuck it in here. And I'm fishing, the reel's back here. But I'm going to be setting the hook up here. So with this retrieve, you want your thumbs to be out like this. And you're going to go hand over hand, so you can go super slow. Or I'm going to go fast now. Go as fast as you want, like a two-each-up, real fast. Okay? You can go fast, jerk it, or just really fast, or you can go super slow. Okay? Now, when a fish grabs it, you give me a little bit of tension. I don't want to stick your hand. When a fish grabs this, you want to strip set. Okay, so if you're going like this, boom, he grabs. See what I just did? That's where you're going to hook him. Then you come up to the line. So you got him, boom, boom, and he's going to take the line, and then you can come back to your rod. Okay, that's the roly-poly. Thumbs out, hand over hand. All right. The rip and strip. That's if you say you got a jig style fly on there. This thing is going to go down, and what you want to do is keep this kind of taut right here, and you want to lift up like this. Lift your you can do with a balanced type minnow with like a jig type thing, or like 1/32 or 1/16 jig. You pull the jig up like this, and then you strip down to it. Pull it up, strip down to it. If you're in a boat, fishing in a boat, so you're going to pull it up like this, tight line, and then as it drops, strip back the slack, because that's when they're going to take it. Okay, that's a rip and strip. All right. The thumb roll and the hand twist. The thumb roll is probably one of my favorites. You can do the standard thumb roll, which is just a thumb like this, or what I like to do is I go here and then here, just like this. Roll, flick, roll, flick. Now the roll and flick I use in still water for chironomids. And any still water with no indicator, you do that because as you roll this, it's slow, and then when you flick it, the chironomids in nature, they ascend vertical with the current, so always downhill, and they go, and they go like this as they ascend. So when you do that, when you go boom, and you give that real soft roll, and then you flick it with the finger like this, then that gives it that quick pop. You'd be surprised what happens. Okay, so that's like a thumb roll. And then the hand twist, you guys know the hand twist probably. That's just like this. You can get all this in here. You can put it in your shooting basket, your stripping basket, or you can drop it if you want. With the sinking lines, you don't want to drop it because it's going to sink into the water. And if it is windy, if you're on a ladder or a chair, it's going to foul on everything. So you want to have a stripping basket when you're doing these techniques, okay? So you should have a stripping basket. If you get one, you want to get one of the scientific anglers that are foam. If you get a hard one and it doesn't have any holes in it, it'll get water in it and it'll pull you down. If you fall over and you got this stripping basket with no holes in it, it's going to fill with water and it's like an anchor. And I've seen guys that couldn't even get up when they had those on. So if you get a stripping basket, I recommend getting a foam from Scientific Anglers, or one that has a lot of holes in it so the water can get through for safety. Now, number 11, the no retrieve. This is the heave it and leave it. I was talking to Miles about this. We were kind of laughing because it worked for him. If you're out there and you're going through this stuff, throw it out and let it sit there. Now, when you let it sit there, you want to have your rod ready. So you want to kind of have your rod at different angles, but you cast it out and just be ready. Keep it taut and just give it a couple minutes, because sometimes they'll take it. Okay, just like that. Now, if he does that, I know I was already set. So if he's a wise guy and he does it again, he does it again.
Yeah.
See, I set here. Okay, we worked on this early. No. So whenever you set the hook and see he grabs, you notice automatically what I'm doing, I'm not lifting the rod up. If you go to saltwater, they always know a trout fisherman because they always lift the rod. There are times maybe with dry fly you let the fish take it and you lift softly, but in this case you're not. when the fish grabs, I'm sitting right here, hard. Okay. Then once you get here, boom. Then the fish is going to take some line, so then you're going to lift the rod up. Okay. Now, leverage, whether you're on the river or still water, I fight the fish with the butt of the rod, not the tip. Okay. So I want to put the butt of the rod at the fish. Okay. So if I got a fish on, I got that there, but if I have a fish on, I'm going to try to fight him like this. And if I want to put pressure, I'm going to put this towards the fish. Okay. So if he's going to be that strong, he'll probably get a little bit on me. But I don't want it, the worst thing to do is this. Okay, this angle, the fish has the advantage. 100%. He's going to go, and it's going to, if he's tight, it's going to break because my $1,000 shock absorber is not even working right now. Okay, but so you want to fight the fish with this way. Okay, with this. See that? Now when I go like that, Miles, what happens? You feel it, huh? Now, if I go like this, he's also going to feel it, right? So if you do this and this, he feels the pressure. So does the fish. So what you want to do, anytime you hook any fish, I don't care what size the animal is, you want to get head control. I always say break their neck, right? Like these big guys here, you've seen, wow, these big fish. I tell these guys to put it on them. And you're not going to get as much pressure if you're going to go like this and this is flat. Anytime that's flat, the fish has the advantage. Okay, like on the river, if I get a big fish in the river, I'm fighting them like this. Just like this. I want to put the butt at the fish. Okay, see how that's bent there? It's not going to, well, maybe it will break if it does 2 miles. But anyway, it probably won't. Okay? But keep that butt at that angle. That's really important, especially in the river. You know, you guys seen some of these fish in there? These guys know there's 2-foot fish in this truckee. You know, you got like a cool guy 3-weight or a 4-weight. You've got to get them. And if you step down with one of these big fish, now you're going to be way down the river. I like to keep my feet in one spot and fight the big fish. I have a reading water show, and I give examples on video of how to fight the fish without moving your feet, getting those big fish in. Now, if you've exhausted all of these resources, you go to the last one, and that's the default on there, number 12. I highly recommend that one. It's called the look-away grab. That's when you're fishing for 8 hours, nothing, and then you turn around and see what your buddies are doing. Oh, man, there he is. Oh, my gosh, you know. See, and that's what happens. No, that's perfect. See, we planned that. So that's exactly, and see, you're looking, hey, man, what's going on? And then, boom, oh, and then your friend goes, what'd you do? And then you make up some lie like, oh, yeah, I was doing this. No, you weren't even looking. Now, how many times have you guys done that fishing when you look away? Okay, because the fish know what you're doing, okay? So when you're looking away, you're doing a couple of things. You're either moving your line just a little bit or it's dead. Usually it moves a little bit. You're going to be here, and when you go like this, you don't even know it, but you moved it 4 or 5 inches. That's all it took for that fish to want it, okay? So fish are like kids and grandkids. I got 28-year-old grandkids, right? So I was already a developer. Anyway, whenever you get on the phone, what do the kids do? They act up. Same thing here. If you're fishing and you get a call like this, what happens? You get a fish. All the time. All the time, see? And then you got to go, just what I just did. See, do it again. All right, so then, oh, and you're like this. Oh, okay, man, yeah, hey, thanks. And you're fighting the fish while you're talking. Okay, but it happens, so always be ready. So that's number 12. That's a look away. Now, change the rod position depending on the wave action. This is all usually, so no, everything I'm telling you is usually. Whatever you do to catch a fish and it worked, do it again. So don't say, well, that guy at the fly shop, man, he told me to do this. And no, I'm telling you usually. This is usually. Whatever whatever you do to catch a fish, you do it again. So wave action, when it's really heavy waves, a lot of times you want to get the rod down into the water because you have what's called wash. So you have the big waves here, your rod. If you have like big waves, I want the rod down, And I want a lot of times the tip's right on the sand and 3/4 of the rod submerged with big waves. Okay, when the waves lighten up, then you can raise your rod up. One of the best times I usually have is when the rod tip's just on the top of the water, just under about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm doing some of these retrieves. Usually is the best, but the wind's always different. So just change your rod position according to the waves. All right. Again, if my rod's way up here and there's big waves, my line's going like this in the waves. Okay, you'll catch them, but you're the last guy to know it. All right. So if you want to get on the fish, keep that rod tip lower with waves, and then raise it up as it calms down. All right. Again, change your cadence. Super slow is usually all of these fish here. I could tell you, we caught on like this big female here. Was you see the popcorn beetle in there? That's Jay Johnson on TV. I told you, and that was a slow retrieve. All this 20-pounder, and all of them were just like a little thumb rule stop, and then toom toom toom, and then stop. So you can go. A good cadence would be 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, stop. 1, ooh, and they got it. They'll suck it right up. This fly works in almost any still water you can imagine. I don't use it anywhere except for pyramid because the pyramid fish have a big bread basket. And if you use this, especially if you tie it in a 14 or a 16 at one of these other reservoirs, they're going to swallow it. It's like the booby fly. The booby fly is the same thing. It's light. This is even lighter than a booby. So they will swallow this fly. So I don't use it anywhere except for pyramid. Okay? Just because of the mortality rate of the fish. All right? When you're retrieving, probably one last thing if you have questions. These are stripping guards. This is an airflow line. This is a 200, I think it's a 290 grains. The grains is the weight of the shooting head. When you use an airflow line, I can tell you, you're going to slice your fingers on this material. This is different than Rio lines or SA lines. It's made out of different material and it'll slice right through you. Okay, so most people wear gloves out there. I don't like gloves. I don't never wear them. I'll put a couple of these on my fingers just for retrieving. So, okay, so they don't cut because they'll slice you. You won't know it until it's too late. All right. So, again, most people wear gloves. You can do that. The cold doesn't bother me too much, so I don't wear them. So anyway, any questions?
The invite mentioned a two-tone chironomid.
That's coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're not done.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Any other questions about this? Okay, there's a lot of stuff there. So basically what you do when you retrieve out there is when I start retrieving, I'll retrieve slow and then I'll speed it up. Whenever you catch one out there, whenever it happens, try to remember what you did. You probably won't because you're out there for 7.5 hours and then boom, what would you do? I looked away, didn't look away. So you just keep looking away.
I actually thought of a question for you.
Yeah.
I keep getting told by my buddies I need a 10-foot rod plus for stripping.
No, you don't. In fact, the shorter the rod, the better leverage you have when you fight a big fish like tarpon or anything. That's why the tuna fishermen, they'll have a 5.5-foot fiberglass rod with a roller on it for leverage. So the longer the rod, they're not as good in the wind, a long rod. Shorter rods are better in the wind, and they're better to fight fish. Okay, so the switch rods are good at pyramid if you're using an indicator and there's rocks behind you. So when I guided, I would furnish those for my clients so they wouldn't, hit rocks. So you can do a switch rod with an indicator, lob a big, and those are pretty long. Those are 11 up to 13, 14 feet. This is a 9.5-foot rod. This is as long as I would want to offshore. I use 9s and an 8-foot 3-weight glass rod sometimes, and then this is a 9.5 graphite. Okay, so I wouldn't go any longer than this. Again, the shorter the rod, the better leverage fighting a fish. That's why on the Truckee River, catching the big fish we do, I don't like 11-foot rods because they're like this, and then you have nothing. Okay, I use a 10-foot rod on the river for leverage. Any other questions?
You mentioned how wide to cut the strip on the phone.
3/8 of an inch for a size 8. Yeah, and then just an eyelash smaller than that for a 10. Yeah, that's a good question to write down.
A 7 weight.
This is an 8 weight. Yeah, but 7s are really good. 7, 8, 9s,
Okay.
stuff like that. Back in the old days, 40 years ago, or more than that, 50, graphite wasn't around. We always wanted to go one lighter than our friend. So if he had a 5 weight, I got a 4 weight, and Andrew's got a 3 weight, and then you got a 0 weight. Orvis made a 0 weight. So we always wanted to go really light. Now, there's a lot of bigger rods, like with the switch rods. So now guys are going out there like, whoa, they got this, 11 and a half, 12-foot rod with the big old handle on it. And I used those when I was guiding because that's what it was easier for the customer. See, and of course they always say, well, that guy's got a switch rod, I want one. You got one. See, but so all of the equipment that we use in this industry and other ones, they're made for certain applications. So, depending on what you're going to do, you have to go that way. So again, a 9 or 9.5 footer. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Personal preference. So, say you're not super into the switch rods, mostly your clients. I'm just curious, so do you typically strip year round, or are you using single hand rods with augers and ladders?
I don't use indicators very much at all. The only time I do is if, we were talking about this earlier, if I'm, say, drifting the river and everybody's using indicators, then I do. I don't want to say, no, I want a high stick. No, but I usually don't use them in any application when I'm fishing. But as a guide, I've used every kind you can imagine. And what happens in our industry is someone's paying you top dollar, they fish once or twice a year, and they want to catch a fish. So if they don't have the hand skills, you fix the line. So there's two ways to fish. There's a fixed line and a free line. Free line is nothing on there. And a fixed line, of course, would be an indicator, and that fixes your depth. So if you do have an indicator, in still water you can fish any direction you want and get away with it. So you can go upwind, downwind, side, whatever. Sometimes even downwind's better because you're fixed. But once you take that off, now you have to imitate the natural food item, which is going to be an upwind cast and retrieve. Because the chironomids, if that's what you're fishing, they're going to send, if the wind's coming here this way, they're going to be ascending downwind. They stop and they go like this, all the way to the top. You get an air bubble called a it's a air bubble they create, and it allows them to get to the top. Okay. Any other questions?
Can you talk a little bit about depth? Do you do like a countdown method? You start at the surface, and then if that doesn't work, you
Yeah.
from there?
There's questions about counting down your line. That's one of the oldest techniques in the book, and it's very important. Okay, so you should count down, because when you reach 37 and you start retrieving, then you go back to 37. Okay, depending on the depth of the water and the sink rate of your line, you want to know where you're at a certain time, so you want to count it every time. And sometimes I'll even count when I'm grinding and see what 63, you grabbed it, on the retrieve. Okay, but yeah, count down. That's a great question.
So you start like top down, or you let it, you think where you get into the bottom?
Yeah,
Start there.
with this particular application, you're going to cast out and you want it to get to the bottom. So you could probably start maybe at 20. But there's other times also that the fish aren't going to be down on the bottom, they're going to be in the column. So that's important too. If you're counting down, you're going deep, 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 nothing, then start retrieving sometimes right away. You make the cast, start retrieving. And as you retrieve, your line's going to be gradually sinking, and that's very, very effective. So, cover that whole column of water.
Do you think the Popcorn Beetle is just as efficient mid-water column as it is on the bottom?
It's worked that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it more towards the bottom. And then, again, when you stop the retrieve, this beetle, this little nothing, it starts floating up. So it just goes like real slow. And these big fish, they're lazy. The big ones are lazy. Little ones are going to attack everything. 6-pounders are little, okay, out there, 8 pounds. But when you get to the 15, 20-pound range, 12 pounds sometimes, I have had better luck going slow. But I've known guys that have gone fast and caught them. But they are lazy. But they'll see that thing and it drives them nuts because it just barely starts floating up. And then they grab it. Yeah? Question?
Yeah, so when I first started fishing Pyramid, it was the Walker Lake fish, and they would always come back to the nets there at Sutcliffe this time of year. Is that still true with the
Yeah.
pikes? They still come back to the nets, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, originally, I have a show, Land of the Giants, it tells the whole history of the lake when they were extirpated, when they were fished out, and then where they got them at Pilot Peak and all this stuff. But he's talking about right around probably 1950, they started restocking it. It's probably maybe the late 60s you're talking about, maybe the 70s or 80s. And they had,
Not that old.
well, I fished it in like way back then. I'm only 70. So, yeah. But yeah, those are the Walker fish.
I can tell, you can look and see on the monitor there, when the fish come up, if they're kind of dark and they're got a lot of red on the side, that's a Pike's Peak.
That's a Pilot Peak.
Yeah,
Now,
Pilot Peak.
yeah, as this goes through, it'll just be about 30 more seconds.
And that's a Walker.
No, no, that's not a Walker. No, if they're missing the adipose fin in the back, I'll show you on one coming up. These are all Pilot Peak fish. Now the Pilot Peak fish will also get dark like this. Okay, here it is. This is what you're talking about. This is what they call the summit strain. It's got an adipose fin, and there's the arrow. See where the arrow is? That's that little fleshy fin right above their tail, their caudal tail. So if they have that little fleshy adipose, then they're the Walker Summit Independent strain. They're a mixture.
Now, are they still stocking those?
This last November was the last bunch they were going to put in for a while because they lost their well. So the tribe has closed their hatchery. The feds, though, in Gardenville have the Pilot Peak strain. They're the ones they got up at Pilot Peak. And those are still being put in. But not as many as they were. So there's not a lot of numbers going on as we speak here, but there's a lot of really big fish. So they need to get that done to replenish it. Yeah.
It's interesting, I saw my first Pilot Peak fish last year, and they look like Chinook salmon to me, that same coloration and
Yeah.
configuration.
They're what we call meristically different. The phenotype, the way they're built, is different because if you notice on here, the Pilot Peak fish have a round bowling ball type head, and their eyes are set up high on their head, on top of their head, where the Summit Independence Walker fish, they're more angular and their eyes are on the sides. And they're easy to identify. Now they're hibernizing, so now we're getting some mixtures in there, which is kind of good for the fishery, to tell you the truth, for us. But the Pilot Peaks have a round head, especially the females. But again, their eyes are set high. And they have 3 rows of teeth. In the pyramid show I show a skeleton of one, and the pilots have 3 rows of teeth instead of 2. So they're totally different. And then they have an enzyme. It's called pyloric ceca, and that breaks down their food, which are minnows, because that's what they feed on, are minnows.
So with that different configuration of the eyes, does that mean that the Pilot Peak fish are more inclined to feed in the upper columns? Or?
They might be, not so much the upper, but they probably see things differently. Yeah.
So you don't want that right down on the bottom anymore, right?
Nah, they see it. Okay, the one thing about this beetle, I was telling Miles, if we turn the lights on and put a black light on that thing's going to pop. You can see it, and friends of mine have live cam, the live scope, and they can see fish tracking these beetles all the time. And then when you're looking out there, you can see this thing. Yeah, they see it a long way away. Now, it was kind of there's one in the mouth there, but when I first tied this fly, the Pilot Peak weren't there. So I thought, well, they're putting the pilots in, man, they might not like it. I was dead wrong. They love it. They absolutely love it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history, how you kind of came up with the concept of this fly?
Yeah, okay. There's a couple of letters written on this also about what happened. The people who were there. We were at the Gilly Fishing Store, and we were at a book signing. I have a book, it's in here, of another pattern that I had for pyramids. So I came to tie that, and another guy there had a beetle, and he had called a Pyramid Lake beetle, and it was tied on he tied it on a 12 or a 14. He said 10 in the book, but they were smaller than that. He used 2 millimeter tan foam with a black or root beer dubbed body. And then he didn't tie it down. I mean, he tied it down in the front. He didn't have the lip. So we're at the table signing these books, and he goes, hey, you know, we all tied our fly. So I asked him, hey, have you ever tried this in different size, different color? And he said, no. So I got up, walked over. I worked there for a couple of years after I retired the first time. And I got a couple of materials, and I got chenille, and I got the Evzo 1/8 foam, which is the same as this 3 millimeter. So I tied this fly. So there was about this many, maybe a little bit more, about 20 or so people. When I tied it, they all started laughing. And the more they laughed, the more I knew I had it. Okay, so I go, oh, okay, that's one of those deals. Sure enough, I went out a couple of days later with this beetle and just started slaying them. So I tied the beetle and the polywog, we call it pyramid polywog. Later, one of the fly shops took it and called it a tadpole, but it didn't. It was a polywog. We called it a polywog. So in the newspaper, I did fishing reports, and it was popcorn and polywogs. So the other shop calls up about 6 or 7 months later, after they kept hearing all this stuff. What's this, popcorn and polywog stuff? So I told them what it was. But that's how it started. I just walked over here, got some materials, came back to the bench, tied one up right on the spot. I left the lip on there because of the flatfish lures, and it pushes water. See, this one pushes water. The original one was small, tied dense, and didn't have the floating ability that this does. This has action, and it's way different color. So they're different beetles. It's like all the midge patterns you tie. They're not the same one. Streamers are different. Stoneflies are different. Beetles are different. So that's why I named it the Popcorn Beetle, because while I was at this fishing store, because they had, the reason I call it a store, because they had, it was a bass hub for the bass circuit. All the bass fishermen came in there, and I did the fly fishing part. So I had those peanuts, the packing peanuts. It felt like popcorn. So I tied a couple dozen of these, and I had them in my hand. I go, man, it feels like popcorn. And I named it the Popcorn Beetle. Looks just like it.
So not even named after the beach. I thought it was named after the beach.
Named after the material. And with no tail. I'm telling you, this isn't good enough for most. Okay, there's a thing in the industry. I'm with Umpqua, Miles, and he knows about bin appeal when you see a fly. Okay, they're designed to catch your eye to sell you the product. So if you had these out there, they'd go right past them and they'd get the mop corn, the one with the tail, the one with the rubber legs, and then they're missing out. And even Andrew here, he asked me the question about the tail, and he was right. It inhibits the movement. You want this thing to be popping up and down like a cork. Another thing that I've done you can do, I was doing a show. I did almost 200 shows around the country when I was doing them. And I was down in California at the Delta Fly Fishers, and on the counter they had some little poppers, because they do bass fishing. They had some poppers. And they were free. So I go, well, can I get a? Yeah, take all you want. So really? Yeah, take the box. We've had them for like 5 meetings. Nobody wanted them. So shit, okay. There's like maybe 20 of them probably. So I took them. And they're those little bluegill poppers. They work. Put them on a shooting head, and they have a red in the front, and they're colored like a frog. They got rubber legs on them, a little bit of feather on the tail. These fish took them. A popper, bass popper. First thing is like, oh man, I'll use that at Pyramid.
I've got one more question, then I think we should
Yes.
move on. But what do you think the popcorn beetle most closely represents that's a food source to the cutthroat? Because that's a big question that we get a lot.
That's a big question I've been asked. They have a couple of different species of dragonflies there. And if you get one on your hook, which you will probably, you hook one, usually I think it's in March, April, they start coming up into the shallows there. somewhere in there. But you'll sometimes hook them, but they're like fluorescent green on the bottom. I'm not saying that that's it, but I think it might be because it doesn't look like much of anything else. But it's like a Vegas billboard. They can see this thing a long way away.
So what's the body shape? Is the body shape kind of round like that?
Yes,
Long and narrow?
I know of two species, and there's probably more. There's a round one, and then there's this one that looks like a dragon. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's wicked, man. It's just,
About like that long?
yeah, it's got legs coming off, and you, wow, it looks like a scorpion, more than a dragonfly. Yeah. What the?
They bite.
They bite. So they take it from an experienced person. Yeah. So I think it's probably a dragonfly. Yeah. But they love it, you guys. I mean, we get more fish probably on that one than just about anything. Black woolly bugger with nothing on it, but about three hackles and short, you know, built like me kind of. That's what you want. You don't want to like a long skinny one. You want that bush that,
I think Jeff has a question over there.
Yeah, I know Miles wants to move on, but real quick, do you have just a quick overview on fishing chironomids without an indicator? You do that at Pyramid, you do that all still waters?
yeah, I do it all over. I've done it all over the world, and that's my number one thing is a floating line with, and I have a thing, I probably could have put it in there, but I call it float or no cater. So are you aware of John Barr with the Copper John?
Yeah.
Okay, he has a book called Bar Flies, and it's about tying the Copper John. Well, in his book, I wrote 2 pages in there about that technique. So the leader should be usually about 25% longer than the depth, about 5 feet longer than the depth that you're going to fish, your leader. It's tied exactly the same as the 2-fly system. I use the same thing on the river, the same thing at Pyramid, same thing there, where you have a dropper tied off and then a fly behind it. Okay. You want to cast into the wind without the indicator because the chironomids always ascend downwind. And they come out 44. If this is the surface and the wind's coming here, they will always come up this way. And when they get to the top, they're going to be 45 degrees downwind and take off because they don't have the strength. They got that hemoglobin is the air bubble. So they produce that hemoglobin, and that carries them on their ascent. They just wiggle, and they come up real slow with the air bubble. Okay, so you want to cast out and keep your rod down, rod tip right on the water, in the water. I like it just about 1/8 of an inch above, or just ticking the surface, and then you want to boom, 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 let it sit. And when you go like this, boom, 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 or like the flick, then that thing's jumping. It goes. And when they do that, I learned that from National Geographic, by the way, Lake Victoria. And they had an underwater thing on midges, a big old cloud. It's an old film. And it showed them under the water. And they were like a rubber band. They'd come up like this and go, they go like in a, real tight. They go like this. And they all the way up. And I go, whoa, look at that thing. Yeah. I was like 4th or 5th grade. Yeah, way back. When they had horses. So, any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Doug.